Maine transphobes want to put trans student athletes in high school sports on a ballot next year. World Aquatics banned a masters swimmer. Really, World Aquatics? Really? Who is Elizabeth Eddy, and why does she want someone picking at NWSL players' chromosomes? We take a deep dive into a hot take. AOC versus Riley Gaines, only in America. In our Spotlight interview, a plucky lawyer who's standing up for trans athletes in sport. And in Karleigh's commentary tonight, a student athlete, a suicide, and a connection. Hello again, everybody. This is Transposition Sports. I'm Karleigh Webb. And at the top tonight, an anti-trans group in the state of Maine is working to collect signatures to put up a citizens' referendum on the 2026 ballot to ban transgender girls and women who are student athletes from participating in girls and women's sports. The referendum is being proposed by a group called Maine Girl Dads. And how serious are they? They even have an ad for this.
Of Maine voices, of Maine dads, of Maine moms who believe our number one responsibility is protecting our kids.
We are sick of having our families disrupted, of having our children ripped away from us, their innocence ripped away from them.
But I'm saying, you guys don't sit back and wait for others to do it. I'm asking you to take it on.
You are beautiful the way that God made you.
Maine Girl Dads need 70,000 signatures to get this thing placed on the ballot. They will have until November 3rd, 2026, that's the day before the election, to get the signatures they need. Now, the Maine state legislature has seen 5 such bills come through in this current session of the legislature. All of them have failed. Now, the key thing to know about this group is that before you think this is just some grassroots Mainers, think again. The footage that you saw from the rally came from a rally in Augusta in March, and one of the people at the rally was Chloe Cole. Yeah, that Chloe Cole. High-paid, professional transphobe, political detransitioner, Chloe Cole. Now, the lead petitioner of this effort is a guy named Leyland Street. He is listed as a resident of Brunswick, Maine. Now, his brother is a guy named Justin Street, who just happens to be the chief operating officer of Turning Point USA. Yeah, that Turning Point USA, the group founded by the late conservative activist Charlie Kirk. A number of Maine Republican Party dignitaries are backing this suit. Again, the organizers are free to begin getting signatures. They have until November 3rd next year to get them in, and if they do get enough, Maine's going to have this on the ballot. I hope that Mainers have the good sense, number one, not to sign, and if they do get enough signatures, the good sense to beat this thing at the ballot box. Hannah Caldas, 48-year-old trans woman from California and longtime competitive Masters swimmer. She won 5 events at the U.S. Masters Swimming National Championships in April in San Antonio, Texas. World Aquatics this week announced that Caldas would be banned from World Masters competition for the next 5 years, and all of her World Masters results between June 19, 2022 and October 17, 2024 will be stricken from the records. Now, according to World Aquatics, Caldas violated 4 articles of their integrity code, 2 sections of their eligibility guidelines for men and women due to and non-compliance violations for the governing body's 2022 ban against trans women in women's competition because Caldas competed in the last World Masters Championships in Doha, Qatar in 2024. According to a statement put out on behalf of Caldas by New York Aquatics, Caldas refused the test for these reasons, according to the statement. Quote, chromosomal tests are invasive and expensive procedures. My insurance refuses to cover such a test because it's not medically necessary. No U.S. state requires genetic tests for recreational sports events like these, not even U.S. Masters Swimming. The national governing body for recreational adult swimming in the U.S. demands this for any of its events. But if a 5-year suspension is the price I must pay to protect my most intimate medical information, then it's the price I'm happy to pay for myself and for every other woman who does not want to submit to highly invasive medical testing just to swim in an older adult competition. I have been swimming in sanctioned events for over 30 years, and I'm prepared to let it all go. My life and privacy have been invaded enough. It is time to prioritize my health and personal safety. Angel City FC defender Elizabeth Eddy, an 11-year veteran who was a part of 3 National Women's Soccer League Championship teams, wrote on X this week and in a column for the New York Post that the NWSL should adopt sex verification testing to bar trans and intersex women from the NWSL. She said her concerns stem from what she claimed is an absence of clear eligibility policy in professional soccer. Eddy said, quote, "I'm concerned that without clarity about who the league is for, it will lose its identity and momentum. This uncertainty serves no one, as questions and controversy abound over intersex and transgender athletes." She went on to say that due to the perceived lack of policy, quote, "fans have used uncertainty to harass players." She's thinly pointing out one such situation where anti-black and transphobic remarks from fans towards the Orlando FC striker Barbara Banda caused a controversy in a match earlier this year. Now, some of those remarks stem from the Zambian being on the wrong end of a gender verification test that was not handled according to regulations that kept her out of the 2022 African Cup of Nations for her native Zambia. The NWSL currently has a policy on transgender women in the sport in line with the current FIFA policy, which has been standard since 2015. A transgender woman seeking to play in the league must disclose their gender identity, must be on hormone replacement therapy for at least 1 year. They're also subject to either a serum testosterone limit or have to undergo a gonadectomy. Now, Eddy says the NWSL must restrict and regulate under different guidelines, saying, quote, "One option is all players must be born with ovaries, as the FA requires. Another option is an SRY gene test like those of World Athletics and World Boxing implemented." By the way, the person who created that test says that test is not fit to be used in regards to eligibility for sport. Angel City FC on Wednesday released their statement, quote, "In response to an op-ed published on October 27, we want to make it clear that while we respect the right for an individual to express their opinion, it does not reflect the opinion of an entire organization. Since our founding, Angel City has remained committed to equity, inclusion, and belonging. These principles will always guide how we show up for our team, fans, and community." Karleigh's take on this has nothing to do with transgender policy. There are no transgender women in the NWSL. None. This is really about policy towards women with what's termed in international sport differences of sexual development. And at another level, this is about whiteness. Let's call it what it is. Elizabeth Eddy's comments come from a place of peak maximum caucasity. This is a shot at Barbara Banda, and it's a shot at a teammate on Team Zambia for Banda, who, by the way, is a teammate of Eddy's at Angel City, Priska Chilafia, who was also left off that Zambia squad for the African Cup of Nations back in 2022 for the same reason. Elizabeth Eddy, I'm here to tell you, with your column and your stance, you may have tried to be academic and polite about it, but you know, and I know, your whiteness was showing. Hashtag just saying. New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and professional transphobe / former collegiate swimmer Riley Gaines locked some horns this week. It was interesting. Let me tell you, the Twitter beef was real. And it began with Gaines and this shot from the last Zoran Mamdani rally before the election earlier this week. Rain, here's the picture. Mamdani, AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Riley Gaines' tweet, "We're being destroyed from within." And that led AOC to clap back, saying, maybe if you channeled all this anger into swimming faster, you wouldn't have come in fifth. Ouch. And Gaines went on Fox News and upped the ante. Let's take a look.
I want to honestly challenge AOC to a debate. She can defend socialism. I will defend capitalism. She can defend removing God. I will defend embracing a biblical worldview. She can defend child sacrifice. I will defend the sanctity of life. Any of the radical, insane democratic policies and platform that they stand for, I will debate the opposite. I'm challenging AOC to it here.
AOC's response: I would like to challenge this person to get a real job. I'll admit, like the clapback. But there is one thing I want to say to AOC and everybody. Say whatever you want about Riley Gaines, and believe me, I say a great deal about her. Point blank, I don't like her. You just hate us. You just hate us. You just hate us, say Riley. You know you're really dumb. Still upset that a trans woman won. It's been 3 years, girl. Ain't you tired? Lia is a champion. You're still a whiner. As much as I find her an aberrant human being and a professional transphobe, she was a 12-time NCAA All-American. She did win 2 SEC championships. She did make 5 NCAA championship finals. And she tied for 5th against a certain Lia Thomas. Yes, that Lia Thomas. In a way, as aberrant as I find Riley Gaines, I pity her a little. You know, 7 times as an honorable mention All-American, 5 times as a first-team All-American, and 2 conference championships in a Power 4 conference. You know, that's a pretty good career for any collegiate athlete in any sport. But it's a shame she can't celebrate any of it because she's too busy being Riley Gaines, a real American transphobe. Riley Gaines there. When we come back, a spotlight interview with a plucky lawyer who's standing fast for inclusion in a time when others are in full retreat, and a requiem for a loved one lost, and how anti-trans hysteria in sports may have played into it. That and more to come. I'm Karleigh Webb. This is Transposition Sports. Stay with us.
Hey everybody, I'm Kirby the Cat, and I'm the highlight producer here at Transposition Sports, because
Transposition Sports, we show highlights, and we show yours.
But a highlight producer needs highlights, and this is where you come in. If you're trans or non-binary and you're rocking into sports, I want to showcase you. If you're interested and like to know more, if you've been rocking it, the way you can send your video in, we got it in the comments. So please, make the cat happy, send your highlights in, because if you don't, we'll have to show a lot of this person's highlights.
Whoa, wait a minute. Just don't forget, Kirby, this person feeds you.
So?
What do you say to people who say, you are hurting me? You are hurting people I care about. You are hurting my community. You are causing pain.
I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe.
NCAA forced female swimmers to share a locker room with Thomas, a 6'4", 22-year-old male who was fully intact with male genitalia.
I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe. Lia became the first male to win a national title on the women's side. I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe. Not only were my teammates and the other female swimmers and I forced to compete against this 6'4" biological man, I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe. Look, I know the guidelines for the competition, but what are the guidelines that just allowed this man into our locker room? I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe.
The NCAA is a perverted organization. They platformed a biological male who won a national championship. Someone should have just took care of it the way we used to take care of things in the 1950s or 60s.
I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe. I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe.
I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe. I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe. I don't want to be considered a bigot or a transphobe.
I interrupt Transposition Sports because I'm cute and I can't. And for this message from the angry gay grandpa. You don't pay me enough for this, Karleigh.
So maybe I'll start a little bit softer.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
Dad?
Before you say anything, I just want to apologize for what I said this morning. I've been doing a lot of thinking. If you want to change your name, if you want to wear a dress.
It's a skirt, Dad.
Skirt? I don't know the kind of support you need, but let's get you some for all this transgender stuff.
Wait. Are you serious? Dad, what is this?
Oh, this is me supporting you. This is me saying I love you. This is me not losing you.
Love you, Dad.
Love you. Holly.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
Welcome back to Transposition Sports. I'm Karleigh Webb. Special spotlight tonight. 2025, we know it's been bad to be a trans athlete this year. President Trump's executive order, the NCAA's abrupt about face, the USOPC and the IOC doing the same. And the Avery Brundage era is back. Sex testing by World Athletics and World Boxing. And now we're seeing it filter down to the scholastic level. Earlier in the show, we told you about the Ballot initiative that anti-trans organizations are pushing in the state of Maine. But there's been a little bit of pushback. Sadie Schreiner, former Division III All-American. 2 cases pending. Long-distance runner Evie Parts, formerly a sophomore at college, suing her school and the NCAA over the NCAA's change in policy. Plucky Dina Jukic, she's a fencer, she's trans, she's taking on USA Fencing and the USOPC for her right to play in a case that could be a blockbuster. And a smaller case, but just as important. We told you on the show a few months back about a certain Cammie Woodman. She's not just a pretty face with good tennis dresses. She plays good tennis, and she got banned from a rec league just for being the woman she is. And she's suing that league as we speak. Now, the common denominator of these four suits that I'm telling you about is a plucky lawyer based in New York City. Herself, former Division I athlete, a 3-time Iron woman, and a Boston Marathon finisher. As an attorney that specializes in sports, that has fought for women in sports, she's also taking up this mantle and putting herself on the front line. Standing 5'2" from the University of Vermont, Susan Cirilli. Welcome to Transposition Sports. It's good to have you here. And right up front, before we begin, biggest sporting moment of your life as an athlete?
Well, it's good to be here, Karleigh. Well, I think we talked about this. My favorite sporting event was in high school. I'm from just outside of Philadelphia, a place called Delaware County, and I went to a high school called Strathaven, and I ran track there. And we weren't supposed to beat Ridley because they had some really good girls running, but we beat Ridley. And I ran the mile. My sister and I actually both ran that event. And we did better than the coach thought we would, and we ended up beating Ridley that year. That's like my favorite all-time memory of sport, honestly. And I also have to tell you, I'm not doing this alone. On that Swarthmore College case, I have co-counsel on a guy named Alan Epstein out of the firm Spector, Gadden, Rosen, and Vinci, and he is like a stellar civil rights lawyer who has done a lot for our community, the LGBTQ plus community. So I have some help. It's not just me.
You put yourself at the tip of the spear in a lot of these cases. What has led you to take this up? Because come on, granted, part of the community, but assist part of the community. At a time when a lot of people who claim allyship are retreating, and a lot of organizations and governing bodies are going into retreat. Why are you stepping into this?
Well, thank you for saying that, but there are a lot of people stepping up. There are a lot of people stepping up, as I just mentioned one, Alan Epstein. But my practice has always been in sports, specifically women's sports. It started like I was born and raised as a lawyer, an employment lawyer. So I got my training doing employment law, and then my practice shifted into sport. I've always represented women in sport. So from a college student athlete who was getting discriminated against in the classroom to college coaches, women college coaches for women's teams, one for equal pay, another one who was retaliated against for advocating for a student athlete on her team, their mental health, and she was retaliated by the athletic department and university. I've represented professional coaches, female coaches and men coaches in their employment disputes, I'm not an agent, a soccer agent, but looking over a coaching contract, making sure that the right terms are in place. And it's really fulfilling work, especially for women coaches in the space. I've represented youth coaches, and I counsel soccer. I played soccer in college, so that's kind of my thing. Well, it used to be my thing. Where counseling clubs on employment issues, on how to pay people properly. I've represented coaches who are paid improperly. And then I've also represented female former professional athletes in their next step in their careers, whether it's a business venture, whether they're starting their own company or entering into contracts with other entities. I've done that general counseling work. I still do it. So when these cases came across my desk, it truly, Karleigh, makes sense for me to do them because I've always represented women in sports.
What is the common denominator that threads these things together? And kind of based on what you're seeing as you're working through this, doing the research, what's your thoughts on just the tenor of the times right now that we're seeing in regards to trans people in sport?
Well, I'm just going to preface, I cannot speak about any pending litigation, right? But I think we've been here, look, like, sports has always been an arena for civil rights. We talked about the Boston Marathon, Catherine Switzer, right? Jackie Robinson, you have Billie Jean King, Renee Richards, transgender woman who played tennis. Sport has always been an arena where society is kind of reflected, right? In the whatever, the rink, the court, the track. This isn't new. This has been a fight for a long time.
How would you answer to a cis woman who says, this isn't our fight? This has nothing to do with the advancement of women's sports. Why are you fighting for them? How does this advance women's sports?
Elevating transgender women is elevating all women, right? And so if I'm elevating when we are working to elevate transgender participation in sports, it's elevating all women in sports, right?
With that in mind, sex testing. It's
okay.
back. It's back. First, as a gut level, take the lawyer hat off, but put the athlete hat on it. What is your view of that? And then, from the legal standpoint, what does this mean? Because now you have people talking about, like, for example, Elizabeth Eddy, NWSL veteran, 11-year veteran, longtime player, is saying the league has to have sex testing so that people know who this league is for. What's your view of it as an athlete, but also as a counselor?
Well, I'm no longer an athlete. I walk with my dog, so I'm not going to answer as an athlete. I'm going to answer as an attorney.
But you were one, and my belief is once an athlete, always an athlete, even if you're inactive.
I enjoy walking. I'm going to answer this as an attorney. I don't know that person you just referenced about who advocated for sex testing at NWSL. I don't work for the NWSL. But as an employment lawyer, I can say this. Athletes are employees of the league. So I know the NWSL is a single entity, so every player is an employee of the NWSL. That is known, right? So I would caution all employers, or leagues that are employer, a league is an employer, to make sure that they understand the state laws that protect gender identity. Because honestly, Karleigh, all employers have to think about this, not just sports leagues and businesses and athletics. All multi-jurisdictional companies have to, their handbooks, you have an addendum for each state. And some states protect gender identity and others do not. So I don't know what the ins and outs of what this player was saying, but and I have no idea what the NWSL is doing, but I will say that all employers should be aware of state laws that protect gender identity and act accordingly.
I want to take you back to being that little girl in Delaware County.
Delco?
What? Yes. What made you fall in love with sports in the first place? How did those experiences coming up as a kid, as a college player, afterwards influence your career path now?
Sports was everything, especially where I grew up. I'm one of three girls and a boy. We all played Division I soccer. My sister at West Virginia, my other sister, we both played together at UVM. My dad played at Penn State. Even more than that, though, growing up, all the kids on my street, we all played sports. And my high school, Strathaven, always promoted women's sports. I mean, I remember watching my older sister play, even people older than her. I thought they were the best soccer players I've ever seen. And so sport was everything for us. We would go to the pool, we were on the swim team. I played tennis. I would, in the summer, it was soccer, swimming, tennis, basketball in the winter time. Then when you started committing to club soccer or AAU, even for 1 year I played AAU, but I'm too short. And then I went on to run track. It was just everything. It was my social circle. It provided me confidence. It's been everything. And then into law school, I clearly just kept running. And so, sports has been everything. And so candidly, when I made my shift from my law practice, I was missing sport and I really wanted to get back to sports. And since shifting my practice a couple years ago back into sport, I mean, law and sports, it's like I couldn't be happier. I mean, and I say that in the times we are in, I don't mean that I'm happier about these cases and all of that, but more I'm happy that I can use my skill set in sports. It's great.
Now, in that return to sports, a Boston Marathon finish, three Ironman finishes, and three 140.6s, qualified for 70.3 Worlds. Would you
a while ago.
Whether it's been a while ago or last week,
it was a very long time ago.
But one thing I want to know is, first, would you ever want to take another shot at it?
No. No.
And what was it like when you first did it? For example, you had an 11-hour finish up at Ironman Quebec, 2017. What was it like to not only finish top 50 overall, top 3 in the podiumed in your age group, and do it in a pretty quick time, and do something that, quite frankly, very few people in this world will ever do? What did it mean for you?
Thank you. That had a time in my life, a time and a place. Ironman. It's a lot of time, and I think I needed it during that time, And I was for me, like the lifestyle of Ironman, it gave me something to work towards, get out of bed, stay into a routine, which is like really important in general, but especially during that time of my life. So doing the Ironman, it's just like one long training day. You've been training for months and then you get to do everything all in one day, and you just get to be by yourself, and you're in a beautiful part of the world. You're in Canada or Lake Placid, and it's just the best. So it's more about the process, and then the actual race day is like the gift to yourself after what you've done for all of these months. But it had a place in my life, and now I don't think I have the time to do it right.
Well, recently, you hit the football field for a minute.
And then I retired very fast.
No, but all those how have those experiences from the past influence what you put in to the work you do now, especially in regards to sports?
Yeah, well, I had a great coach in college, Carrie Descanis. Like, I've been around really, my dad, one of the best coaches I've ever had. I understand the value of a really good coach and how much sport can help people. And then also like how inspirational it is just to watch, it's entertainment. And so my experience as an athlete, knowing what you put into it to train, whether you're trying to be the best recreational athlete in New York gay football, or you're trying to win an Ironman or go to the Olympics, like everyone still goes through the goal setting and putting your mind to it and your body to it and working towards a goal. I think you can achieve the same type of result maybe in music, when you're practicing a craft and an instrument or, the arts. But for me, I'm kind of just a dumb jock, and like sport has been that vessel for me. And so I feel whether it's litigation or counseling and contract drafting, they're so important. And I feel like if I can have a little impact on that coaching contract that can get a little bit more money or a little bit more access or a little bit more freedom, then that's a win. I'm competitive, And then, these cases, there's a bigger picture at play here, and we're working on those. But yeah, I think athletes are the best.
I want to talk about coaching though, because you mentioned that. Why is there still a glass ceiling towards women coaching in women's sports at the highest level? Last three WNBA hires, men. Yeah. Colleges still not quite getting it. That women. There's nothing wrong with putting women up in positions to coach women, and there's still this perception. For example, every year it's talked about Becky Hammon should coach in the NBA. Should step up to the NBA. Most recently, Dawn Staley should step up to the NBA. In your mind, why is this glass ceiling still? Why do we still have athletic chauvinism in 2025?
It's everywhere. It's not just sport. Sport again is a really great look into what's happening everywhere, right? But the thing about, well, let's take a look at the NFL for a second. There was a lawsuit. A non-white coach sued, I think, the Miami Dolphins for not getting. Yeah, excuse me?
Yeah, Brian Flores.
Yes. Thank you. And the NFL is saying there's not enough black candidates. But you look at the field, and look who's on the field. And it's the same thing here on the women's side, NWSL, WNBA, any of these women's leagues. You're looking and you're saying, well, there aren't enough women candidates. You find that out a lot. They're saying we need a pathway for more women to get in the pathway. Look at the court, look at the field. It's all women on the field. So there's not a shortage of bodies. We do need to make sure that we train up these. There are qualified women. There are qualified women to coach in these leagues. So the employment lawyer in me wants to say that these clubs need to look at their hiring practices. The leagues need to look at the big picture of the numbers, and maybe there's two types. I'm going to get nerdy on you, Karleigh. There's two types of discrimination we can talk about: disparate treatment and disparate impact. So you can have a policy that is facially neutral but has a disparate impact on a group of people, right? So many of these leagues and clubs can say we're interviewing everybody, but if the result is you're hiring more men than women, something's going on there, right? Now you can also have really terrible policies that say we're only going to hire men or we're only going to hire women. That's like discreetly explicitly discriminating against a certain group of people. We don't see those anymore. It's usually these facially neutral policies that have a disparate impact on others. I would urge these organizations to look at their hiring practices and recruitment practices and make sure that they're looking at all of the qualified candidates. Karleigh, there's really qualified women out there, and trans women out there, and trans men. But I'm thinking about women. There are qualified women out there.
I wonder, growing up, favorite athlete?
Michael Jordan.
Okay, why MJ?
We used to watch him all the time, and we used to play basketball all the time outside with our neighbors. I played with the boys. That's why gender really didn't growing up, we would play with the boys. The Storch boys would come over and we'd all play basketball. RC would draw the United Center on our driveway. I mean, like, we would pretend we were the Chicago Bulls. But really, because my dad played soccer, we grew up watching women's soccer. I mean, anytime it was on, we watched the national team. Like, anytime. My dad would take us to the national coach, the U.S. The coaching convention to meet Christine Lilly. I remember going to meet these people and to watch them play. So growing up, women's sports was like and then playing with the boys, it was like we're shocked when we're treated differently, because on Palmer's Lane, like we played roller hockey with the boys.
Talking about that, what was it like being a little girl for the 99ers?
I remember where I was. We watched it with my dad. We were like watching. I remember my cousin Michael called during the shootout. We were like, why is he calling? Does he know what's on? And he was like calling us like, are you watching? Are you watching? My whole family, like, we've always been. It was everything. It was what we did. So yeah, the 99ers is huge. They were everything. That HBO documentary, Dare to Dream, amazing. So yeah, they had to fight. You see what they did? They had to sell their own tickets, do their own thing.
Coming to the home stretch.
Okay.
First off, there's a particular client, Cammie Woodman. Does that woman know how to dress, or does that woman know how to dress in competition? Have you seen some of those outfits?
That's what's fun about tennis, right? I mean, soccer, you have to wear your own jersey. I mean, you're stuck with the jersey you get, just like football. I'm seeing behind you, but yeah, I mean, I guess tennis is kind of fun. Serena Williams and I guess Cammie Woodman.
Hey, I've stepped up my wardrobe just trying to catch up to Cammie. But for you, the exit question. We are in a moment right now where women's sports is booming, where more people are watching, more people are paying attention. You're seeing more investment. In your eyes, as an athlete, as a lawyer, but also just as a woman in this country right now, what's a step that women's sports in your mind needs to take that they aren't taking yet?
Ooh, I think everyone's doing their damnedest. I think agencies that represent women athletes should really put the pedal to the metal and get these women. I said, okay, so I'm from just outside of Philadelphia. So you imagine, and I guess you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan?
Oh, no, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan in the NFL. Lifelong.
Okay. Okay. So how do I speak to someone that's a Steelers fan? No, I'm just kidding. No, but imagine if these NFL players were all women. I mean, look at like when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. They're on, and they deserve it. The parade, what they did for the city, it's amazing. Imagine if that bus, they're drinking and cheering. They were all women, and how we idolize. Imagine if the Philadelphia Eagles were all women. What that would do for a city and a society. And Philadelphia, thank God, we're getting into WNBA team. But what that does for the psyche of a city that doesn't have a women's professional sports team yet. And like growing up in that area with killer athletes that come out of Philly. I mean, take me off the table. I am nothing. You got like Karleigh Lloyd.
Yeah. Dawn Staley for one.
Dawn Staley, Karleigh Lloyd. I mean, who else? I mean, there's so many. It's a killer sports scene down there. But imagine you have to go to the Philadelphia Union if you want to watch soccer. You got to go to the Eagles to watch football. You got to go. There's that does something to the psyche of a girl growing up in Philadelphia or the surrounding area. But imagine you come to Brooklyn, you get to go to a Liberty game and see people go crazy for that. What that does for a kid who's just shooting hoops in Brooklyn, thinking I could just be down the street at Barclays Center playing. I mean, sports is everything, and it transcends into the C-suite or whatever profession people decide to get into after sport, if there is an after sport. Hopefully there isn't for some of these girls, So I would say agencies need to really, really start, and they're doing it. I mean, you see, but there are so many other women that are really good at what they do that should be promoted.
Susan Cirilli, keep putting up the fight that you're putting up, and I can tell you right now, we're gonna want you back.
No, thank you so much. Thanks for your time. You're fun.
And thank you for being a part of Transposition Sports, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks.
In late October, Middlebury College announced that Lia Smith, a 21-year-old trans woman, student, and competitive diver, had passed away. Lia was from Berkeley, California. She was a senior, double majoring in computer science and statistics, active in LGBTQ and campus clubs, known for being curious, funny, and kind. She loved music, history, and her cat, Edgar. Lia started diving her freshman year in 2022, and she was talented. But competing as a trans woman came with hurdles. Constant hormone tests, travel challenges for medical care, and never quite feeling like she belonged in the locker room. In part because of this, Lia took a break her sophomore year. But then in 2024, an account known for targeting trans people began posting about her, deadnaming and misgendering her, and saying that she had returned to the team for her junior year. A few weeks later, on February 6th, the Trump administration banned trans women from women's sports, and the NCAA followed suit almost immediately. And by February 11th, that same account said that Lia's roster page had been removed from the college website. Still, she kept fighting. On February 20th, she spoke at a student event called Trans Healthcare is Not a Debate, encouraging others to stay connected and take care of each other. But then, this October, Lia disappeared. She was last seen on the 17th and reported missing on the 19th, but police didn't begin a full search until the 23rd. That delay and the fact that she was the second trans woman to pass away at Middlebury in the last 3 years has raised painful questions about the safety of trans people on campus. If you're struggling, please know that it will not always feel like this. I graduated from Middlebury College a decade ago. It was not a place that I felt comfortable being out as a trans woman. I had really hoped that it would have changed more by now, but unfortunately for Lia and so many other people, it looks like that is not the case.
Special thanks to Ari Drennan from Media Matters for America for that rundown on Lia Smith. It's the basis for this week's Karleigh commentary. In a sane world, Lia Smith, 21 years young, would be preparing for her senior year as a member of the swimming and diving team at Middlebury. She was a diver and she was pretty dang good. She would be finishing up her coursework. She would be thinking about how many graduation tickets she needs. And on one sunny blue sky day in May 2026, she'd be walking across the football field at Middlebury College to accept her 2 degrees and then look forward to it wherever life takes her next. In a sane world, that would happen. Instead, her body was found in a field last week. Her death ruled an apparent suicide. Now, why she ended her own life? Those reasons died with her. But her backstory can maybe give us some clues. See, her freshman year, she was on the Middlebury swimming and diving team. She's a diver and she was pretty good. She had a 5th, 8th, and 12th place finishes in her event at NESCAC. Her freshman year, New England championships in her freshman year, and scoring points for her team. That's not too shabby. She took her sophomore year off of the team because it seems that those goofy anti-trans groups like HeCheated.org and She Won and Boys vs. Women, all that lunacy got her name and started coming after her just because she was on the team, diving on the team, and fully eligible by every rule and every metric of the NCAA at the time. She was being targeted and pillared by people who believe what transphobes believe about sports. They believe 2 things, both of them are false. That transgender women are not women and cisgender women stink at sports. Forget all the nonsense about protecting women's sports. That's what these people believe. She toughened up and can't want to come back, but that was in 2025. Oh, by the way, What did Charlie Baker do? He capitulated to Donald Trump and banned all trans women from NCAA sports. That was earlier this year. But like Ari said in the clip, Lia Smith kept fighting. She was speaking on a panel that night, that same night that she spoke at that panel. Oh, by the way, a right-wing group on campus brought in Leo Saphir from the Manhattan Institute and a certain trans activist who runs a PAC named Brianna Wu to speak against trans rights. That happened the same night. Why you platform those two, I have no idea. Free speech is one thing, hate speech is another. Did all those things compound on Lia Smith? Maybe. Perhaps. But this is a pattern that we're starting to see more and more in our campus environments, in our school districts, and in a lot of places in this country. We're seeing young trans people being told, you can come to school if you want to, but don't expect us to protect you. You're on your own. And those of us like myself who are older are also looking at that and also looking at what we face. Because we're being told by a larger society, we don't even want you here and you're on your own. Whether it's in sports or anything else. Middlebury is encouraging people to give donations to their LGBTQ center, the Prism Center on campus, in Lia Smith's memory. And I'll be kicking in a little, and I hope that a lot of people do. But I also want to tell these colleges, universities, and school districts something really, really important. You know, some of the support is nice, but you know, trans youth need your support while they're still alive. Lia Smith could have used your backup when she was still alive. She could have used an athletic program to go to Charlie Baker and say, no, you don't. You stand fast. We have rules. Let us decide. Not Donald Trump. And I hope that a lot of school districts in Maine tell parents and educators, if they get those 70,000 signatures, we're going to beat them at the polls. And we're going to stand up for those kids. Here's hoping that a school stands up for the next Lia Smith. Just saying. For Transposition Sports, I'm Karleigh Webb.